Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to look for a show that delivers, a show that's going to give you that excellence that you want and need, and a show that all around is just going to be great, you're going to go back and watch last night's NXT Takeover 30. Ladies and gentlemen, this show was great. This was the best NXT Takeover or the best NXT production since they've gone without fans, and I honestly do believe that. Most of the matches on this card were great. It resulted in Karrion Kross winning the NXT Championship, as we did expect. We're going to talk about the whole entire NXT TakeOver 30 show right here. Nobody does it better. Hit the like button, subscribe. Go nowhere else. A lot of people have said that NXT has been underwhelming. NXT is not what it used to be, and some of those things are true. But in all general honesty, if you want an NXT show that really just delivered, it was last night. SummerSlam is going to have a tough one going up against NXT TakeOver 30. For those of you that don't know what the NXT TakeOver 30 signifies, it signifies the 30th NXT TakeOver. There were, I believe, 5 matches on this card, 1 pre-show match, and as usual, I don't review the pre-show matches. I know that's something that I probably should do, but we're going to sit here and we're going to talk about NXT TakeOver. The tag team #1 contendership, Breezango ended up winning, and they are the #1 contenders, so they will have a shot at the NXT Tag Team Championships against Imperium. Just wanted to say that real quick, not going over the match. Now, usually every show has a couple of matches or a match or two that you can say was underwhelming. I guess if you could say, now a lot of people, okay, the match that kicked off the show was Finn Balor versus Timothy Thatcher. Now, both of these guys are great at what they do. Me personally, going into this match, I thought honestly, and this is honest to God, I thought that they could have done Finn Balor with a better opponent. That's not me saying Timothy Thatcher's not good, because he is good. But what I'm saying is that Timothy Thatcher and Finn Balor wrestle different styles. The match itself wasn't bad. It was alright. But, again, it's 2 different styles. Balor's more acrobatic a little bit, and Timothy Thatcher's more of like the technical guy, submissions. You know, he's a lot older. And again, this match wasn't bad. It was good, but what I'm saying is that I think that for NXT TakeOver, Finn Balor could have had an opponent that was more suitable to his style to present a bigger match. Obviously, Gargano was not an option. Velveteen was done on Wednesday, and Velveteen obviously made the North American Championship match. But in all honesty, this match wasn't bad. The match opened up with some strong mat wrestling. Balor choosing to play into Thatcher's strength. Balor tried to take over using some stomps, but again tried to engage in a hold-for-hold battle, allowing Thatcher to begin torquing his knee. Every attempt by Balor to make a comeback was cut off by Thatcher, countering into extended submission holds. Obviously, that's what Timothy Thatcher plays into. He locked in the Kimura, a bunch of wrist locks, chin locks, and generally just locking up any available part of the body part of Balor. Again, that's Timothy Thatcher's strength, is doing things like that. Balor missed the coup de grace, collapsing after the early work on his leg after he landed on the canvas. Thatcher tried to capitalize on the opportunity, but Balor fought through a series of submission attempts before eventually hitting this coup de grace, followed by 1916 to score the win. Thatcher's style isn't for everyone, but if you like mat wrestling, he's a joy every time out. Some nitpicky issues with this match, but mostly around how Balor was not selling the leg, but overall just a really solid open to it pay-per-view. These notes are from CBS Sports, by the way. Obviously, I put my own input into it, but the CBS Sports are who's responsible for these notes. I used to do notes when I first started, but it was just a tedious, extensively exhausting task. So I usually try to get them off of a website, and then I add my own input when it is necessary. But Finn Balor wins this match. Obviously, Finn Balor was going to win. And again, CBS kind of just state, you know, some people are not into Timothy Thatcher's style of wrestling. To me, I like Timothy Thatcher. He has that gritty, foreign guy that's just tough to the nail, tough to the bone. And, you know, I like Timothy Thatcher. Again, his wrestling style is not for everyone, and we understand that. But as far as the opening matches, was a good way to open it. This match coming up here got an A-, and I'm absolutely surprised it didn't get an A+. The North American Championship ladder match was brilliant. I love this match so much. This was one of the best. I don't know how many ladder matches we had this year. I don't know how many ladder matches we've physically had this year, but in general, for a ladder match, this was fantastic, and it made me question if Velveteen Dream was legitimately breathing after this matchup. It was Bronson Reed, Cameron Grimes, Damian Priest, Gargano, and Velveteen Dream in a 6-man North American Championship ladder match. As expected, there were plenty of innovative and dangerous spots throughout the match. A comedy bit saw Grimes attempting to climb 2 ladders simultaneously, only to have them pulled in different directions, obviously, leaving him doing splits high above the canvas. The smaller competitors realized they needed to team up to take out Reed and Priest, using ladders and teamwork to try to take out the biggest threats. Priest had a huge moment running up the ladder, draped over the ropes, and hit a nice big flipping dive to the outside. For someone of Damian Priest's size, he can really go, and this is not news to any of you. As Grimes was about to climb the ladder with no resistance, Candice LeRae entered the ring and stopped him. Now, I thought at this point in time, they were going to have the screwy finish, and they thought that they were going to have Gargano win North American Championship. My vote going in is I wanted to see Damian Priest win the championship, but most of these men in here I could have seen winning the championship. I could have seen Johnny Gargano winning the championship. I could have seen Velvet. Well, I don't think Velveteen needs to. Velveteen's a whole nother problem, but we'll talk about that another day. Gargano climbed the ladder with no resistance. Candice LeRae entered the ring and stopped him. Gargano then helped her run the top rope before she sent Grimes onto other competitors with a Hurricane Rana. LeRae again interfered as Reed was about to grab the belt. After LeRae climbed onto Reed's back on top of the ladder, Reed jumped and hit Gargano with a splash as she clung to his back. There were some slightly missed moves down the stretch, mostly focused on big moves onto suspended ladders. The action picked up in a huge way from an oddly paced opening stretch down the rest of the match. Dream was thrown from the tallest ladder in the mat through a table at the ringside, and a huge move. Now, let me explain this move for you people that don't understand it. Dream was sent from the top of the ladder over the outside of the ring to a table that was on the other side of the barricade. So Dream went absolutely flying, and there was no sign of him after that. Gargano released the belt from Priest. Now this is where the match kind of gets to the end. Gargano and Priest are at the top. Priest pinned a strap to the hook and knocked Gargano from the ladder, scoring the win for Damian Priest. At the beginning of the match, there was some awkward pacing, but everyone really stepped on the gas down the stretch for a memorable bout that let everyone involved shine. Damian Priest wins the North American Championship in this ladder match. I couldn't think of a guy to give it to that's better. Obviously, Gargano's been hot, but from what I'm stating, Gargano doesn't need the title, and that's what I've stated. I've stated that Gargano's great. He's one of the best NXT superstars of all time, but he doesn't need the North American Championship to feel important. And I'm not saying Priest does either, but Priest definitely deserves it. I think the guy's really shown out in the last couple of months against whoever it is that he went against. And my honest opinion is I think Damian Priest is something special, especially for a guy of his size. For a guy of his size, I think Damian Priest is great. I honestly do. His entrance, just everything about Damian Priest is great, if you ask me. The ending of the match now, I don't know how many of you actually watched the ending of the match, but for me personally, basically, Gargano was on the left side. Priest was on the top. Priest was holding the top of the belt, and Gargano was holding the other side. I thought what was going to happen was Gargano was going to fall, and the top of the belt was going to slip from Priest, and Gargano was going to fall and win the title. But fortunately, Gargano got knocked off, and that resulted in Damian Priest winning the North American Championship. Great match. Definitely go back and watch that. Now, we talk about guys that come into the business and it's not their first choice. They're either a former athlete, a reality star, or whoever, and they get put into a wrestling ring. Now, most of these people are not good in this world of wrestling. However, Pat McAfee is one of the very few that is actually very good. Pat McAfee, one of the all-time great punters in the NFL history, comes back. This feud starts from Adam Cole being on McAfee's show. McAfee taking unintentional or intentional ribs at him the whole show. Adam Cole getting up, explicit this, explicit that, storming off of McAfee's show. Triple H goes on SportsCenter, says McAfee's welcome to come to the world of wrestling and come to NXT. And McAfee comes to NXT to address Cole, and when he does, he catches Cole when he's on the announcer table and punts him in the head. He then gets ejected from NXT. The match for TakeOver is set, and quickly, sooner rather than later, you realize that this was a work. The podcast I legitimately thought was real. McAfee comes on NXT this past Wednesday. Great promo with him and Cole. Says he'll see him Saturday, excuse me. This was a great match. I will tell you this. Pat McAfee, for someone that's not really been in the world of wrestling, I have to tip my hat off to him. He wrestled a great match. He built a great feud. And Cole, all the credit as well. Obviously, Cole being the much better wrestler. But I have to give credit to where it's due. Pat McAfee really showed out on NXT TakeOver 30. So basically, McAfee engaged in a few collar and elbow tie-ups. Showed off a bit of flash with an up and over in the corner. McAfee didn't really want to fully engage. He did hit a big shoulder tackle early to send a message. McAfee's boys and all the Undisputed Era were arguing outside. Obviously, McAfee has some of his former teammates. AJ Hawk, I remember him. When McAfee hit a huge senton from the top rope to the outside, looked nice, taking out everyone. McAfee took the match over for a while after the dive, stomping and body slamming Cole. McAfee also hit a nice drop kick, showing off some surprising in-ring chops. Cole came back after brawling and pulled McAfee's shirt over his head, hockey fight style. McAfee was shoved off the top rope, did a perfect backflip landing on his feet. He then leaped to the top rope and hit a superplex in a true stunning sequence. That was really cool. McAfee accidentally punted the ring steps. This was when Cole was outside, so if he had really punted those in real life, that would be very painful. Cole moved out of his head, opening up an opportunity for Cole to lock in a figure four leg lock for an extended period. As Cole attacked McAfee in the corner, McAfee landed a kick to the groin out of nowhere. The referee was not looking and used it to set up his big punt kick. I thought for a second that McAfee, this was going to be the way that he was going to win the match. Cole kicked out of that punt kick just in the nick of time. He won shortly after, though. He ended up hitting the last shot. He did not hit the last shot. He used the Panama Sunrise for the 3. There was no way around it. McAfee's performance was stunning and exceeded any reasonable expectations. As a straight-up match, this was solid enough, but considering McAfee's experience level, it was a home run. I absolutely agree. Adam Cole wins this match, as it should be. But McAfee was impressive, man. I got to give him credit. This match was great. And, considering that McAfee is not a WWE wrestler, this was some impressive stuff, man. I got to tip my hat off to him. And I think that he's one of the guys that we're going to be talking about coming out of NXT TakeOver for a while. I would not mind Pat McAfee sticking around, in all honest to God. Women's Championship match. Now, this match kind of started off a little bit slow, but as it went on, it got better. I thought the beginning of this match was a little bit, I don't think it was bad. I just think we all knew that Io Shirai was going to win, and going into it, it was just kind of, I don't know. I love Dakota Kai. Her time will come. Kai came out aggressive, looking to work over Shirai's arm, using the ring ropes to really torque the champion's limb. Shirai was kept on the defensive throughout much of the match. Every attempt to build momentum was getting cut off before Kai went right back to the arm. Shirai eventually fought back, hitting some big stomps to Kai's chest. Shirai ate several kicks and fired up through the only to be hit with a scorpion kick. From there, the match went into a long stretch of back and forth action. Both women taking and dishing out a lot of damage. Kai delivered a big boot into the corner, then missed Shirai but hit the referee. She had a moonsault that may have ended the match, but the referee was down. That allowed Raquel Gonzalez to hit the ring and hit a big choke slam and revive the referee. But Shirai kicked out at 2.9. Shirai then hit a huge moonsault from the top rope to the outside before bringing Kai back to the ring, and she then hit another moonsault to retain her championship. After the match, Gonzalez tried to attack Shirai, but Rhea Ripley ran to the ring and stared her down until Kai pulled Gonzalez from the ring. This was another really well-structured match to add some drama to the match, where the winner was never actually in doubt. This was a good match. Was it the best women's match ever? No. Dakota Kai is great, but I didn't think that she was going to win the match against Io Shirai. That's an honest-to-God opinion. That's just, how I feel and just really what I thought. From a personal standpoint, Kai should be in line for the Women's Championship at some point, but I don't know if her taking off of Io Shirai would be a believable feat. Now I'm going to talk about... Hold up one second. I'm going to talk about this main event. NXT Championship, Keith Lee defending his NXT Championship against Karrion Kross. This match was good, but it was, I felt like it almost didn't live up to the hype. I felt like the match was good, and we all stated that, but I felt as if it could have been done a lot better. Now, what I mean by that is that the match wasn't good for big men. I don't know if these two have the best chemistry. The match ending was great. And the match itself wasn't bad, but if you watch the match, you'll understand what I mean. I don't think the match was bad. I just think that the way that they fought, I don't know if it lived up to the hype. The two men charged each other to start the match as Lee dropped Kross with a shoulder block, stunning Kross in the process. Lee ran into the ring post after a battle on the outside of the ring. Then Kross kicked the guardrail into Lee's arm to take over after Lee had been dominating the early part of the match. Kross kept focus on the arm, locking it in submissions and ramming Lee's left shoulder into the corner several times. As Kross continued to dominate, Lee kept showing his heart, kicking out over and over while trying to fight back. Kross eventually locked in the Kross jacket, pulling Lee to the canvas. Now, I thought that there was a chance here when Kross had his submission in that Lee was genuinely going to tap out. I thought, for an honest opinion, I thought there was a good chance that that could have happened. Lee was almost out of the hold before finally managing to get to the ropes to break the hold. Lee came back with a big two-handed chop and the spirit bomb for a surprising 2 count. Kross cut off Lee as Lee was heading to the top rope, hitting his Doomsday Saito. Then Lee kicked out earlier from the second rope to score the 3 count. Kross, as Lee was heading to the top rope, hitting his Doomsday Saito that Lee kicked out earlier. He hit this one from the second rope to score the 3 count and win the championship. There was no real way for this match to live up to everything that came before, but as a battle of big men, he did his job quite nicely. Kross makes an interesting top guy for NXT, and it frees up Lee for what should be a trip to the main roster. Karrion Kross wins the NXT Championship. I didn't have a doubt that he was going to. Some people were surprised. I don't know how these people were surprised. I mean, if you looked at what Karrion Kross was doing leading up to the... leading up to... what was I going to say? Leading up to this match, I don't think anybody was beating Karrion Kross. You know, Keith Lee never really got that NXT Championship reign, but I don't think it was meant for... I don't think it was meant for that long of a reign. What happens with Keith Lee now? Keith Lee goes to the main roster. Now, that could be good and bad. We know how that goes. That could be good and bad with Keith Lee going to the main roster. And it's just one of those things where you have to scratch your head, because every person that gets called up to the main roster, we don't know what comes from it. They're either very good or they get buried below the shafters. As far as Karrion Kross goes, Tommaso Ciampa's coming back, so I don't think it will be too long before Tommaso Ciampa's in line for an NXT title match with Karrion Kross. Where Keith Lee goes is the question mark. Do they stick him around on NXT for a little while longer, or is that all she wrote? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching as always. I hope you enjoy SummerSlam tonight. SummerSlam's coming on live tonight at 7 p.m. I hope everybody continues to stay safe.